Well, here's some interesting information on the cost of silver potentially. You see, the latest numbers that I used to look at were several years old. And they used to say that it cost minimum of about 15 ounces, or 15, not 15 ounces, $15 an ounce just to break even, pull it out of the ground kind of thing. Cost. So when they crashed the market to $9, $10, the end of 2008, early 2009, again, I capitalized on that, bought a bunch of Silver Eagles. Some of my friends did. Actually, one friend did. It didn't last long and went back up. Now, having said that, all the earnings reports we can look at from all the major mining companies of the world in regards to silver. So this is courtesy of Silver Doctors, of course. The break-even cost for silver rises towards $30 an ounce as 3 different major mining companies show net income losses. So if there's a net income lost at current prices, then clearly prices have to rise in order to keep up. And if they don't rise, miners go bye-bye. And if miners go bye-bye, prices for silver skyrocket. Whether the COMEX or CME or anybody wants to try to manipulate it will be irrelevant. Because anyone who needs silver at that point will have no choice but to go on the COMEX, paper markets, etc. to get what last little bit there is, which is what they've always been using to put out these paper contract fires or deliveries, etc. And because only 1% or less ever demand delivery, they've been able to continue this whole Ponzi scheme for so long. Talking about the COMEX and the boys, the club. So if silver miners go away, then the only thing left is what the COMEX and LBMA say that they have left. And that's a paper claim that they say they have, which again is a massive pile of silver and gold that the whole world financial system uses, and they pretend that it's just them that has it, when in fact everybody and their mother uses it and has sold it, resold it, triple sold it 5,000 ways from Sunday to all different parties who think it's theirs. That would come home to roost pretty quick. So then what would happen is that 1% of people who on the COMEX now are the only ones who ever demand delivery would turn into 5, 10, 15, 20, 50%, 100% in order to secure physical silver if these mining companies went bankrupt. But if they don't go bankrupt, then the price has no choice but to rise. But because the price is set on Wall Street, again the COMEX, these same mining companies, the only way that the prices can rise is by doing so by playing the paper game themselves. We're going to hedge our position. Right. And if they hedge their position to where they hope it goes up and the elite step in and force it down like they always do, then they are forcing the mining companies to take another loss on their hedged position and in real life. Unless the miners were so dumb to say, well, let's just short the market. We need prices to rise so that we, as miners, mining companies can make some money. We're going to short the market in hopes that it does go down and then we'll make some money. That doesn't make sense. They would have no choice but to hope the market goes up. So, having said that, let's take a look at some of the statistics. SRS Rocco. The third quarter results are out, and it looks like several of the primary, again, these 3 primary miners stated a net income loss for that period. 3 of the major, most important miners of silver all posted a net loss. And that's at roughly $30 silver. Isn't that amazing? So what does that tell us right now? That tells us that zero price for silver can't happen. 0 price for your stocks, bonds, 401k can and will happen. Potentially will happen. At least a complete destruction. Whereas silver, according to this, if you just hang on to it, even if they crash the market, it's short term and you hang on to it, this is telling us that prices pretty much are guaranteeing $30 price point, or just to break even right now for the mining companies. If the mining companies don't stay alive, then the price of silver will skyrocket out of control. So the elite are going to have a tough little juggling act. Do we let the mining companies go bankrupt and then we absolutely have silver blow up on our faces and the price skyrocket? Or do we have to, no choice but to allow it to rise so that these miners can offset other rising costs for them and continue to make a profit in the mining sector, strictly silver we're talking? I think that's what the elite are going to opt for. They're not going to have these companies going bankrupt, which is a sure guarantee that the prices of precious metals absolutely skyrocket. Out of their control. They want control, so they are going to have to play, not really by the rules, but they're going to have to play ball. They're not going to have a choice. And if the miners are saying $30 is not even break even right now, we're actually posting a loss, then the elite are going to have to say, well, I guess we're going to have to bump silver up to 40, and then we'll play our game at 40. And then when the mining companies say, well, that's not good enough, other rising costs, other factors are kicking in, $40 our break even point. The elite are going to have to say, let's let $50 silver happen again, and then 60, then 70, then 100, etc. That's assuming if it goes the way I just told you. Then add in the other factors of the world. Devaluing dollar. 15% of the Asian bloc or whatever of countries are now using their renminbi, as I did the video the other day, as trading currency. Bye-bye US dollar, just like Lindsey Williams said, by the end of 2012. They already did it from July to August 31st, 2 months. That's the latest data we have that shows 15% increase of that trading and saying bye to the dollar. Well, that's August. How about September, October, and now November? We're into the third month past that. Is that 15%, 25% now? Are they rapidly leaving the dollar now? Why did the Federal Reserve guy from Mr. Williams, San Francisco Fed say not only this $40 billion we're going to do mortgage buyback, but we need to do another $600 billion bond buying spree? We the Fed. Why? I thought we had a strong dollar. I thought the world wanted our dollar. I thought our dollar was a reserve currency. I thought Lindsey Williams did not say that the dollar was going to be dying and dead by the end of 2012. Oh, that's right, he did say that. And this is proof that it's happening. Somebody told me the other day, I asked him to send me a link, and I haven't even checked my YouTube yet, but send me a link to the Lindsey Williams interview where he said that they pushed the timeline past 2012 now for the complete collapse of the dollar. It's obvious that they're falling behind with their plans. Syria, Libya threw them way off. They're still no further in Syria. And they had to overthrow each of these countries and instill the Muslim Brotherhood in each of them. So far, they've got Egypt, as far as the Muslim Brotherhood. And then they overthrew Libya. Haven't heard the word Muslim Brotherhood over there, but I'm maybe could assume that they're in power. If not, maybe they're still working on the proper elections or something to get them in power. I'm not sure. But next is supposed to be Syria, and they're nowhere near that. So they have to extend their timeline. As they extend their timeline, other things like this start blowing up in their faces. Mining companies, prices of gold and silver. Prices in gold and silver are begging to explode, and these guys are forcing them down. And they have to weigh that with the rest of their agenda to where they were going to let silver and gold rise with their agenda. Now that agenda is being pushed back. Silver and gold are still pounding on the door to rise. They're going to have to deal with that. So, first company, SRS Rocco. They received $30.09 an ounce for their silver in quarter 3 2012 and had a total of $230 million in revenues. However, it looks as if break-even price for silver for them is now $31 to $32 an ounce based off of their released third quarter reporting. Next company, Silver Standard Resources Inc. Another one that had a net loss. They sold 600,000 more ounces of silver in the period, and he says it's a total of 2.7 million ounces, than they produced. So in other words, they sold 600,000 more ounces in that period than they actually produced and still came up with a net loss. So in other words, their books showed, well, we sold 600,000 ounces even though we haven't pulled that 600,000 ounces out, in totaling 2.7 million ounces. Part of that was 600,000 ounces that they sold but didn't even dig out of the ground yet. And including that, which means they didn't even have to include the price of the excavators, the equipment, the labor, etc. They were given basically a free 600,000 ounce of silver profit. That's millions and millions of dollars, by the way. Free, here you go. Still reported net loss. They received an average of $29.37 an ounce during their reporting. Next company, Hecla. Heard of these guys a lot. Hecla stated a net income loss of $885,000, which is not bad considering $81.8 million in total revenues. $885,000. I don't know. That's like a 1 per. Was that 10%? Yeah. So 1%, whatever it is. Having said that, let's just say it was a break even. They basically, you could kind of say they broke even. And if they broke even, what was the price that they had to break even at? Is it reported, or is it just rounding it to 30? Actually, it's an interesting story for Hecla. He says this revenue came solely from their Greens Creek mine. Hecla produced 1.6 million ounces of silver in quarter 3 of 2012. Not to say that's a whole huge amount, whatever, but whatever. At a cash cost of $3.52 an ounce. With that sort of cash cost, in other words, that's a low fee that they need to make money, and again, silver was around $30 an ounce. You would think Hecla would be a so-called low-cost silver producer. He says they are on paper. On paper, they are. Real world results had a loss. Tiny loss, but it was a loss, and a loss is a loss. They barely, not even, technically they didn't break even because there was a loss, but it was so close, 1%. I was just trying to be nice, Mr. Jason, before, and just say they broke even. And what did they break even at? Even at a cash cost of $3.52 an ounce. In other words, that's what we got to have for, we should be able to, anything over that, we should be okay. No. $30 an ounce. They're reporting their books look like crap. They broke even, basically, 1% loss. That's 3 big, well-known, whatever, mining companies for silver. If they are, the first 2 were losses, this last one was barely a loss, but that nonetheless, 3 losses from 3 major producers that are well known in the industry. These aren't small time chumps, even the first 2. What was the first one? The total they did $230 million in revenues. That's not bad. So, anyways, what is the price of silver at? $32, $31. Well, technically right now it's about $32. So, $30 an ounce silver, what this is telling me is that's chump change. We need a lot more. We need like $40 an ounce. And then when 40 comes, we're going to need 50. Prices, it's harder to get to. More equipment to get to it, etc. Higher fees. Those of us who are buying and have been buying over the last several years, we've been able to buy it at the low prices. And even today, $32 silver is a fire sale price. Hate to say it. We're going to be getting to the point, not so distant future, I'm telling you this right now, when we all look back and say, oh, there's $50 silver. You remember $50 silver? You remember how hard it was to go from 50 in the 80s, and then finally it hit 50 recently, and then they dumped it down, and we couldn't get it back? Yeah, I remember that. Don't you remember that? Yeah, that was... And you know what the next conversation would be right after that? Man, I wish I bought a whole bunch more silver when it was $50. God, I wish I did it. I'm just so stupid not to do that. And here I am trying to get people to buy at $30, 40 or 50. I don't care. The prices are going to be going up, whether the elite like it or not. They already know this. You know that they see these things. They know this. Are they going to risk letting these companies go out of business because they can't make a profit, and then the prices absolutely skyrocket out of control, and the elite struggle to maintain control of those prices? Or do they have to give in by force because of the same reason and say, we don't want these companies going bankrupt. We have to let prices rise. We'll set the bar up to $40 an ounce, and that's where the basic bottom will be, that it can't go below or these guys go bankrupt, and then we're in deep, deep, deep trouble. Because silver has to continue to flow. If silver doesn't flow, that means whatever's left above ground is now sold, and the only thing you can get your hands on. That is going to make things go up. So in either case, prices go up. One case, they skyrocket. The other case, they go up by force. Not skyrocketing per se, but they start to go up. Having said that, then we look at the economic situation of the world, the dollar, currencies, paper dollars, paper stuff, reports about the silver, which I have another video to do after this. Gold. There was a story from the Bank of England that was hush-hushed long ago in the 60s, in which we sent gold over there for Germany, and it was like fraud. It was a fraudulent bunch of gold bars or some crap that they hushed up and kept secret for a while. It's now been released. What do you suppose this story, getting back to the German people and everywhere else, saying, hey, this is what America did to us in the 60s, and it was hushed up. We want our gold now, and we have to wait 3 years to get 50 tons a year for the next 3 years, and they have a lot more of that in store for us? That's just our little test amounts we wanted? Right. they're going to be demanding all of it. And other countries are going to see this and say, "Oh my God! If great America, the great American democratic empire, beacon of hope and freedom of the world, did this to another country in the '60s, and now it's been proven." Bank of England finally released it after 50 years or 40 years, whatever, because I think it was actually 1969. Hey, Congress and prime ministers or whatever you got in your country, don't we have our gold over there in America? Yeah, we do. Get that crap out of there now. And then the club is going to have a real hard time putting these fires out on Wall Street, because guess whose money, gold, etc., they've been using this whole time? Yep. Not their own. So take this video for what it's worth.